Do you ever feel like you're constantly seeking validation from others and their opinions matter more than your own? You long for the freedom to live life on your own terms, but lack the financial resources and influence to achieve it. Are you struggling to resist your own desires and impulses? Are you feeling stuck and unsure of how to navigate difficult situations? Whatever your struggles may be, you are not alone. When you see successful people, you may think to yourself, they seem so happy. I wish I could be like them. Let me ask you a question. Let's say there are two types of lives. One is a life where you are constantly bound by something, and the other is a life where you live freely without being held back by anything. Which do you think is the happier life? We all know that a life of freedom, without being bound by anything, is the happier life. Then, why are we living our lives focusing on status, wealth, honor, or material possessions as if they are the key to happiness? If you base your life on these things, you may become dissatisfied if you cannot get them. Or if you get them, we will be fearful of losing them. This is essentially what it means to live a life bound by something. If you truly desire to achieve freedom, then you should not take things that are beyond your control seriously. Hello and welcome to YouQ. Today, we will be discussing the teachings of Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, on how to live a happy life even in difficult and challenging situations. At the core of Epictetus' teachings lies the idea of accepting things outside of our control, while focusing on what we can control. Everyone experiences hardships in life, such as failing at work or going through a breakup. But Epictetus, who was born in 50 AD and lived in Rome, had endured much more difficult circumstances than that. At that time, Roman society was divided into social classes, with the highest being the nobility, followed by commoners in the middle, and slaves at the lowest level. Your social status was determined by your parents' status. Unfortunately, Epictetus' mother was a slave, so he was forced to live as a slave too. Life was harsh. He had to work every day for little or no pay, and on top of that, he was said to have had a disabled leg. However, Epictetus did not feel any pain himself, because he had a philosophy and way of thinking that allowed him to endure the difficult reality of his life. And that philosophy has been passed down through the ages and still provides us with valuable insights on how to live better lives even in challenging circumstances. By watching this video, you can learn how to apply Epictetus' timeless teachings to your own life. So, as some top tips. First, take lightly things that are beyond your control. Epictetus said that there are two types of things that happen to us, those that are within our control and those that are beyond our control. We cannot change things like where we were born, who our parents are, our appearance, voice, disabilities, talents, and so on. Everyone may have thought at some point, if only I had more money, were better looking, had better ability, etc. However, worrying about these things is a waste of time and energy. Instead, Epictetus advises us to focus on what we can do something about, which is our own actions, approaches, judgments, and way of thinking. Even if we were not born with a natural talent, there are still a lot of things we can do, such as reading a book every day, or doing daily workouts. By actually accomplishing these self-determined goals, we can feel a great sense of achievement and build confidence. Next is to accept what cannot be avoided. In life, there are things that cannot be avoided, such as sickness, accidents, earthquakes, floods, aging, and death. No matter how healthy your lifestyle is, you may get sick. You could get cancer even if you don't smoke. However, this doesn't mean that taking preventive measures to avoid getting sick is meaningless. Exercising and being mindful of your diet are things you can control. But fundamentally, it's important to acknowledge that sickness, accidents, and sudden death are unavoidable. Don't let fear dominate your life and waste the time you have now. This way, even if unexpected problems arise or you suddenly become ill, you can handle them calmly. The next point is to not take other people's actions too seriously. Other people's behavior is also something that cannot be controlled by oneself. Some people might say or do unpleasant things, whether they are parents, children, friends, partners, bosses, or customers. Despite this, we wish to control others and always suffer because things don't go our way. Even if we teach a colleague how to do their job, they may quit after 2 days, or a friend we thought was close may talk behind our back. Every time this happens, we panic and feel shocked, saying, "I trusted them," or "I was betrayed." Even if we think we are being kind, we may still be disliked. Just like with illness or accidents, when someone dislikes us, no matter how much effort we put in, we cannot control their feelings. Therefore, we should not worry about things that we cannot control ourselves. Instead, we should focus on what we can control, such as how we treat others and what words we use. We should make an effort to improve ourselves rather than focusing on the other person. The next point is to not take other people's evaluations too seriously. In today's world where social media is prevalent, everyone is concerned about how they are perceived by others. People want to present themselves in the best possible light. However, if you focus too much on the opinions of those around you, you may lose sight of the path you should be taking. For example, even if you buy an expensive watch to make yourself look good, some people might think it's inappropriate, while others might think it's cool, and some might think it's too flashy or tacky. Some people might not even care about watches. The truth is, others are not that interested in you. They are only interested in themselves. Even if you act to seek their approval, you may not get the feedback you expected. Therefore, you should always act according to your own opinions or values, regardless of what others think. By doing so, you can feel self-satisfied and happy even if others don't evaluate you positively. The next point is to focus on the present moment. The past and the future are both beyond our control, so there is little we can do about them. Even if we worry about getting married in 10 years, or about natural disasters, or about our retirement, there are limited actions we can take. Many people become anxious and indecisive after watching news that fuels their fears. However, regardless of how anxious we become, we cannot control the future. In 10 years, we may become ill, but we cannot do much about it now. We should focus on the present moment and not dwell on the past or worry about the future, as they are beyond our control. Instead, we should prioritize things we can control in the present, such as our actions and behaviors. By doing so, we can feel more empowered and capable of making positive changes in our lives. The following point is to live life to the fullest even in a supporting role. As Epictetus said, keep in mind that you are an actor in a play that is just the way the producer wants it to be. It is short, if that is his wish, or long, if he wants it long. If he wants you to act the part of a beggar, see that you play it skillfully, and similarly, if the part is to be a cripple, or an official, or a private person. Your job is to put on a splendid performance of the role you have been given. As I've mentioned before, we cannot control the country we are born in, our physical appearance, our parents or siblings, the environment we are raised in, or the talents we are born with. For instance, if I tried to become an opera singer, I'm pretty sure I'd make everyone's ears bleed. It's not that one should not have dreams, but rather than taking on roles that exceed our abilities, it is more important to maximize our given abilities and tackle what we can do one step at a time. By fully embracing his role as a disabled slave, Epictetus was able to free himself from slavery and later in life establish his own school of philosophy. This was a result not of succumbing to his role as a disabled slave, but of fully embodying it and performing it to the best of his abilities. The next point is to resist pleasures. Epictetus said, "It is the nature of the wise to resist pleasures, but the foolish to be a slave to them." Nowadays, we are surrounded by pleasures from fancy meals, alcohol, tobacco and drugs, luxury cars, gambling, games, smartphones, and many other things that people become addicted to. Why is it better to avoid pleasure? because in the long run, it leads to unhappiness. Pleasure may make life enjoyable at the moment. Drinking alcohol, eating ice cream, or playing games may seem like happy things to do. But, for example, if you drink alcohol and eat ice cream every day just because they taste good, you may become sick or gain weight in the near future, causing great pain. It is a common story that a student who was studying hard to become a doctor became addicted to a game or gambling and lost their way. Pleasure can be very enjoyable at the moment, but if it goes too far, it will cause great pain in the future. This applies to any type of pleasure. Therefore, Epictetus advises us to choose small pains intentionally instead of jumping into pleasure. For example, choosing to exercise instead of eating donuts while on a diet is choosing a small pain. Continuing to study while everyone else is playing games is also a small pain. It is about doing what needs to be done without giving into temptation. It may feel like a joyless life if you just endure pain, but if you persistently work towards your goals by accumulating small pains, one day you will achieve your goal and experience great joy. Epictetus believed that the joy of achieving goals is more important than the pleasure derived from pleasure itself. Epictetus said, "Consider how much more excellent it is to be able to say to yourself, 'I conquered pleasure,' than to say, 'I abstained from pleasure.'" In summary, Epictetus believed that to truly be happy, it is important to distance oneself from pleasure and accumulate small pains. Next, let's take our own situation as if it were someone else's. Epictetus advises us to view our own situation as if it were someone else's in order to avoid being dominated by negative emotions. No matter how difficult something is for ourselves, we should try to view it as if it were happening to someone else. For example, imagine a boy who is suffering from a broken heart after a breakup. What would you say to him? You might say something like, "It's not a big deal. There are plenty of girls out there, and you'll forget about her in time." However, when we ourselves become the ones experiencing the situation, we often can't think the same way. We might become consumed with worry and despair, thinking that it's all over. When we make mistakes at work, we might even think that we are incompetent and become depressed. People tend to take other people's misfortunes lightly, but when misfortune happens to ourselves, we tend to overreact. The important thing here is to speak to ourselves the way we would speak to others. Even if we make a mistake at work, we should remind ourselves that everyone makes mistakes and that we shouldn't worry too much about it. When we overreact to our own mistakes or misfortunes, it's because our viewpoint becomes limited to our own perspective, which is narrow, unlike when we are looking at someone else's situation, which we see with a wider view. In summary, we should try not to take things beyond our control too seriously and focus on what we can control. We need to accept and not worry about things that are inevitable. We should prioritize our own opinions over the opinions of others. We should focus on the present rather than the past or future. We should avoid seeking pleasure. We should try to view our own situation as if it were someone else's. Thank you for watching till the end. At YouQ, we share books and information that can help you live a more enriched life. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe.